people. Before I get started, a couple things I'd like to talk about. First off this is Orange Shirt Day. Orange Shirt Day honors the survivors of the residential school system and remembers those who did not. The reason we wear orange is based on the real life story of Phyllis, a survivor of St. Joseph Mission School in Williams Lake, BC, whose brand new orange shirt was taken from her on her first day when she was just a little girl. An estimated 150,000 First Nation, Inuit, and Métis children were made to go to residential school away from their homes and families. Today, Nanaimo Ladysmith Public Schools participated in Orange Shirt Day, which helped raise awareness of the legacy Indian residential schools with the intention of moving our country towards healing and hope. Thank you to all who have taken part in this very important awareness campaign. And also, before we get started, last week's meeting was highly emotional, and unfortunately it got away from some of us, and I think we can all agree that we can do better. We have children here in the audience tonight, or young people in the audience tonight. We have staff members who are pregnant. SD 68 is a safe workplace, and we will not tolerate any outbursts whatsoever. If there are outbursts from the audience, I will ask you politely to stop. If it continues, we will ask you to leave. If it can't continue after that, if it continues on after that, we'll stop the meeting and clear the room, and and you can go home and watch it on television. So please, I'm asking you, please be respectful of this is a meeting of ours, and we can conduct our business. Other thing that I want to bring up before we start too is the question period. Last week, this board voted to try a new way of doing our question period. The board decided that it was important for the people, if they choose, to have an opportunity to ask their question in person. Last time it turned into a presentation period. That's not going to happen tonight. So the question period is intended to enable the public to obtain a clarifying information regarding a current agenda item. Question period is not to be used as a political forum or for furthering presentations by delegations or to deal with matters that should properly be dealt with through other channels. Questions or inquiries which deal with or reflect upon personal or professional attributes of trustees or district staff will not be recognized. So again, I appreciate, and thank you for coming, everybody who is here. I appreciate that this is for some an emotional issue, but please, I'm asking, please be respectful of the process. So, thank you. Any transfer of items to the open meeting agenda? Seeing none. Any additions to the agenda? Trustee Brennan.
The Hammond Bay School Gym, and that relates to an illicit motion I delivered some time ago.
Hammond Bay, all right.
New business?
Under new business. So how about making it 15.0? Any delete, go ahead.
Sorry, just wanted to add, I had asked that we have an opportunity to share any motions that can go to the BCSTA provincial, and we didn't have an opportunity to do that. I don't know if there's a place to do that tonight, but September 20th. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Any change in the order? So we're voting on the approval of the agenda with the addition of the Hammond Bay. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Approval of the minutes. All in favor of the approval of the minutes? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Section 72 report. All in favor of receiving that report? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Special closed meeting, June 8th, through 8.1 through 8.4. Does anybody have any objection to receiving that? Seeing none. Announcements and reminders. Closed board meeting, the DAC boardroom, Wednesday, September 28th, 4 p.m. Regular board meeting, the DAC boardroom, Wednesday, September 28th, 6 p.m. Education committee, DAC, Wednesday, October 5th, 6 p.m. Oh, Kelsey, before we go any farther, on trustee Brennan's, on the additions to the agenda, it was voted against by trustee Kimler and trustee Ray. Thank you. Thanksgiving Day, Monday, October 10th. Business committee meeting, Wednesday the 12th. Closed board meeting, the 19th. And the regular board meeting, the 19th. You'll note that it's earlier in the month than it usually is. That is due to a conflict that this board has with the BCSTA, so, and the ministry. So we will be moving our board meeting earlier than usual. Correspondence. The agenda setting committee recommends to the Board of Education of School District 68 that it refer the correspondence to item 14.1 Superintendent's Report on the evening's agenda. Does anybody have any objection to that? Seeing none. 10.2, the agenda setting committee recommends to the Board of Education of School District 68 that it refer the correspondence from B. Berry to staff. Does anybody have any objection to that? Seeing none. 10.3, the agenda setting committee recommends to the Board of Education of School District 68 that it refer the correspondence from J. Ross to staff for a response. Does anybody have any objection to that? 10.4, the agenda setting committee recommends to the Board of Education of School District 68 that it refer the correspondence from G. Collins to rental facility staff for a response. Does anybody have any objections to that? The agenda set, 10.5, the agenda setting committee recommends to the Board of Education of School District 68 that it refer correspondence from L. Redicop to new business this evening. Does anybody have any objection to that? Okay, so we're going to add that to new business.
It's already there.
Yeah, it's
already
there. Good, thank you. Trustee zone reports. I'll start for Trustee Solomon as he is away. So this is from Trustee Solomon's zone. Exciting times at Cedar Elementary. A very busy and a very lively school. More kids than expected for sure. Miss Snedded is doing a great job of organizing. Staff are coming in later in the day as they work to prepare the K-room suites, which are coming along nicely. The annex is in a unique situation with a 5-year-old kindergartens having to run of the school. Reminder to Mr. Sabo that lots of cabinets for the suites will be put to great use. Cedar Secondary is up and running. The open house was the 22nd. Staff did a great job of getting the school ready and it looks great. This has been a long haul but will prove worthwhile to all those who attend and our district. Mr. Hoff has taken the role of principal and the school and attracted a great staff who are willing to work a bit outside the box and are open to new challenges or at a new school. Each of the teachers assume a varied teaching assignment, but they are good with it. I have heard that they are pretty cool. It much be appreciated that the direction of management was to make this school the best it can be, and it seems they are well along their way. Cinnabar is down a few kids this year, and there was quite a bit of juggling with divisions in the beginning. As is in most schools. Also, there are a number of new teachers in this school. All is much more settled now and running well after a series of concerns about gas smell which resulted in a few evacuation. The problem is now settled. Island Connect Ed met with Principal Mr. Patrick Young and had the tour. 1,000 kids have some involvement with an Island Connect Ed, usually 100 kids in the school at any one time. Our OWL program had been relocated from ND. Island Science and Sustainability are attended and overlap with programming. This is hugely exciting program. The school is up and running, but there are still boxes to unpack. Open houses to be announced in the near future. Trustee Brennan?
I attended the fun fair at Mountain View School last Thursday. It was hugely successful in my view, just looking at the numbers of cars running down the road in both directions. I didn't win the 50-50, or at least it appears I didn't win the 50-50. I haven't had a phone call yet. But they had, it was a fundraiser, and they had, must have had about 15 or 20 exhibits and opportunities for kids to win prizes. And there was a dunk tank, and I was sort of disappointed to see some of the kids throw the ball, miss the dot, and then run up and push it anyway to dunk the kid. But he didn't seem to mind. There was a barbecue at Brecken School, and many families attended that. We looked excited and happy and to begin the school year. And I did receive a phone call from the PAC chair at Hammond Bay. They have 354 students at that school right now, and I'll be attending the PAC meeting there on Monday night.
Thank you. Trustee Bob?
Well, I had a chance to go visit the schools in the Wellington zone, and all of them are geared up for a new school year. I know that Chad has his hands full with a number of new students, and he's come across some little challenges, but he's on top of it all. I was really happy to go into the elementary schools that are gearing up for new programs, and Uplands, for example, has a new program called the Living Unit Program, which focuses on social thinking, and it is coordinated by the support teachers, EAs, and SLP workers. So it'll be nice to see how that develops over the year. They're continuing their Trailblazers program that started last year as well. Uplands also is starting an Indigenous tea garden, so working with our Ann Tenning to develop a garden that grows indigenous local teas. So it'll be really nice to see how that works out. They're also developing their partnerships within the community with Bears and Beans program and also with the Big Brothers and Sisters. They're also doing the Go Girls program again this year, which was very successful last year. And also working with VIU Kids International Society. I had a quick visit over at Rock City, and they are actively fundraising for their library to get some new books. And I also went to Solaire for the first time, and it was really nice to see them get really excited about the new school year. And a lot of the students are very active in football, and a lot of their students are passionate, both boys and girls, and it's nice to see. They also have a real interest in building, in mining. So somewhere they have a little corner in the back of their field where they're developing this structure and putting a lot of thought and design into it. And so it's really nice to see the enthusiasm at that school. I also went to Koltai. Their garden is looking really good. It survived the summer and has really nice plants growing. And yeah, so I was really happy to get into schools.
Thank you. Trustee Robinson?
I feel like I haven't done anything after that report. I waited until the middle of last week to start dropping into schools. I figured they had enough going on to just get themselves organized. When I visit a school, I go in at lunchtime so I can sit in the teacher's lounge, and it's an opportunity for them to talk to the board through me. Every school I've been in, I was at Rutherford for lunch today, and they have some space still, but the other schools are full to the gunnels, all with more students than expected, which is exciting. I really do feel, talking to the principal at Rutherford, that there's a real positive energy going on in that school, which is nice to see, because we know the challenges that they've been facing is with their tenuous position. It was a joy to go into the school, and Rob, the principal, is I knew him in other positions, but I've never seen him as excited as I saw him today. He's really keen on what he's doing. So my visits have left me feeling that the hard work that the last two boards have done is starting to pay off. PLCs are making a difference with teachers, I think, and I'm real proud to be a member of this board.
Thank you, Bill. Trustee Roberts?
Not too much to report from my zone. It was a bit of a rough start to the early part of the year. I had a couple complaints about that, just as far as like filling the teachers and classes and where to be. And then, yeah, some of my other students, or students in the zone, they work online, so they didn't have any issues, and that's about it.
Thank you. Trustee Browsbeck?
Thank you. Like Trustee Robinson, I sort of have not really gone into a lot of schools right now because knowing what the first month of school is like and having been around, I know that it's fairly chaotic and difficult. I know that a lot of the usual activities have been going on. Everybody's done their Terry Fox run. I did attend the Harewood Neighborhood Association meeting because there was a report on the presentation about the community schools / Parks and Rec summer program at the water park at John Barsby. And we have a very small involvement in that, and that program was very successful again this past summer. Lots of good ideas for next year, and it's a vital program that really provides a lot of support to at-risk kids in the area in the summer. They get lunches and food and so on and that, and just activities. And there's a really good what I didn't realize is what a good educational component it has in terms of the way they run it's not just a drop-in type thing. They actually have a program. So that was neat to see. I've been connecting with the various PAC chairs in my zone to attend the October PAC meetings and that. And so I expect to have more to say in October.
Great, thank you. Trustee Kimler?
Thank you, Chair. Like others, I don't have much to report as a deviation from my normal fare, but
Thank goodness.
because it's startup of the new school year. However, there have been some changes in the Ladysmith zone. There's a new principal at Ladysmith Primary School, and I've taken the opportunity to stop by and wish Bob all the very best in his new role in elementary. He has lots of experience in secondary, so this is a deviation and a learning experience for him. Ecole North Oyster is continuing to make progress with their eco school. I took the chance to go by and actually walk the property that's in the back, and it's all fenced off, and there's a pond back there, and they go back there, they open the gates, and they go back there as part of their learning. They explore the pond and some of the creatures and whatnot in there, and then they also have community gardens there that they kept up over the summer, and they have plans to grow food for the school during the school year as much as I can in our winters. And probably the biggest and best news to report is at Ladysmith Secondary. So it's my understanding today that the carving project that John Marston's been involved in over the last year has been installed in the atrium. And I saw a picture of it. I haven't seen it in person, but it's pretty amazing. It's the backdrop is the big windows there, and as you all know, that atrium is really tall, and the carvings go from the base to the top, and they're both very impressive. So.
I think just to add to that, I think one of the most impressive things about that is they did it right in the school. So it really brought an awareness to the whole school community about First Nations, and brought a conversation that probably never took place before that. So the whole process was fantastic. So I'm going to go and check that out. Thank you. Trustee Higginson?
Have they had a ceremony for that? Is there going to be a?
I'm sure they'll have a
It's pretty awesome. I think we should go.
grand unveiling of
Yeah.
something.
Mr. Saywell, can you please ask Mr. Esslinger if there's going to be a meeting out there? You'll let us know. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, you don't have any? That's right, never mind. Thank you. Committee reports. Trustee Kimler?
Sure. So from the Business Committee, 12.1.1, the Business Committee recommends to the Board of Education of School District 68, and I'm a Ladysmith, which directs that the district's application for the new student transportation funding will identify the following uses for the 2016-2017 budget year. The funding will be used to supplement the cost of providing out-of-policy runs to the tune of $224,000, and the active transportation program, $30,000, and that for subsequent years, the Student Transportation Fund be used to support the transportation services identified under a revised transportation policy.
I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by trustee Higginson, second by trustee Ray. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Opposed by Brennan, Routley, and Brozovic.
Item 12.1.2, the Business Committee recommends to the Board of Education of School District 68, Nanaimo Ladysmith, that it approve the 2016-2017 5-year capital plan as presented on September 14th, 2016, for submission to the Ministry of Education.
A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by trustee Higginson, second by trustee Ray. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Trustee Routley.
Oh, sorry, I was in favor. I apologize. I was ahead of myself.
Okay, trustee Routley, opposed, carried.
Item 12.1.3, the Business Committee recommends to the Board of Education of School District 68, Nanaimo Ladysmith, that it support Rutherford Schools as the #1 facility project on the priority list in the 5-year capital plan for provincial government funding.
Mover and seconder. Moved by trustee Bob, second by trustee Robinson. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Trustee Brozovic, trustee Routley opposed. Carried. Thank you. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, and I'll be referring also to Mr. Sabo periodically here. Some of the questions that have come up over the last month for your information. One of them specifically was the Hammond Bay space and washroom requirements, and we did a full review there. Although there may be a perception that there are not enough washrooms under the code, and we have the appropriate number. Now, we do know that there are different positions within the building, and the unfortunate piece of 6 portables and et cetera, but we're meeting all the requirements. There's more information if the board requires more. Maybe we can just look at it individually if any of the board members are interested.
Any trustee Kinley?
Out of curiosity, I know that there's a portable sort of 4-pack at Ladysmith Primary, and it's my understanding, I think, one of those is a washroom? Is that correct?
I believe it was, I'm not sure if we moved it yet or not. The washroom portable at North.
And through the chair, yes, there is a washroom portable that contains both student washrooms, staff washrooms, and a small staff area. There's a,
And I guess as a follow-up to that, is there something similar at here?
At Hammond Bay?
Right.
no, there's currently not a support portable of that nature at Hammond. There, of the portables on site, I believe there is a music and band room, and previous administration added a portable in support of the small gymnasium, the smaller size gymnasium, which is used as another activity space.
Okay, thank you.
So, which actually leads me into part of the piece that I think of interest for the board. Hammond Bay is on our list of projects for this year around identifying what are the next steps there. From last year in contingency, there was $50,000 put aside to begin that, and staff has moved forward with that as we speak. There's also some artifact drawings and designs of the Hammond Bay project, not only of the gym, but also of a pod of classrooms that could be connected in a larger type project. We feel it's worthwhile for the board to be able to look at both to see the next steps, and I believe Mr. Sable is already moving forward with a some design concept and architectural pieces. Around that?
We're early in the stages of moving forward. We haven't actually commissioned the design yet.
Yeah, but that's our intent, to be reporting back to the board as quickly as we can to prepare ourselves for looking at the next steps, which would fall into place to 2020 Vision for Learning and the 3-year plan that staff intend on presenting during the budget process.
Thank you. Anybody, any questions or anything?
I have a couple others that
Sure.
while I have your attention. I Hammond Bay Henderson. I know that there were some questions from the ministry letter that came out just today on lead testing. And I was wondering if Mr. Sabo would just report to put the board at ease that we are following all the compliance season, et cetera. So,
Yes, through the chair. I previously reported out briefly of action staff were taking. There's 3 key pieces of information. There's a direction from the Ministry of Education in February with respect to waiting for instructions from Island Health with respect to testing around that. In August, we received that information from Island Health and proceeded to develop a project around how we would meet those that information from those 2 key pieces. Staff have developed that and approved it, and we're proceeding with the program. Then today, we received more information from the Ministry of Education, more clarification with respect to a policy they have around testing for lead. So that provides a lot more guidance to districts to follow. It doesn't change our plan, but it does alter some of the details of the plan with respect to how often we're going to test and what we're going to test. And so staff are proceeding with the plan. We've also, we are working on a communications plan, developing it so we can communicate the process and the progress to the public and others via the communication.
Thank you. Trustee Kimler?
Out of curiosity, is the testing required by the Ministry of Health? Is it in addition to any tests done by the municipality for their annual water reports and that kind of stuff? It's an additional?
Yes, it is. It's additional. It's actually testing at our taps. And the new ministry policy indicates that we should test 1/3 of our devices a year. So over a 3-year period, we will have tested every tap in the district.
And as a follow-up, because I know in some schools, there's a difference between when you walk into the school in the morning and the pipes have been sitting overnight or over a weekend, and the test that you perform immediately yields more lead than, say, in the middle of the day after water's flowed through the system. Is there any requirements to test both sort of the static lead values versus the dynamic during the day values?
Yes, quite specifically. And I believe Trustee Kimler has hit on the heart of the actual matter where not many of our pipes have ever returned, if any, lead content that isn't diminished below water guidelines after running it for 2 to 5 minutes. So it's actually that static, the water sitting static, leaching the lead, and then being at that first tap operation. So it's envisioned that, and to be confirmed, that a lot of the lead contents upon coming in the morning or after a weekend will be enabled to be mitigated by flushing.
Great. Thank you. Anybody else have any other questions?
And the final piece, Trustee Higginson forwarded a question on to us as staff, and I believe it came from some parents as well, around bus route 17, which is the extension bus route that comes down and goes by Cinnabar, Chase River, and then ends up at John Barsby. And the question around was courtesy riders, opportunities to take that bus. So first off, in the explanation from Mr. Prebles, the Transportation Department is hesitant at the beginning of the year to allow courtesy riders because their primary purpose is to look at the riders that meet the criteria. The next step is, once that's cleared, is to then take a look at the number of courtesy riders and look at how many are there and et cetera, and whether or not we can support that number. The point, and so we are just coming up to that time in the year where they're going to look at courtesy riders and allowing them or not. So we're almost 3 weeks into the year, which is probably fairly typical. The point on the extension group coming down is both buses are quite full, and so there is not a lot of space there for courtesy riders. So as a matter of fact, they borderline being full on most days at this point in time. So that's where we're at with that, and so that does explain one of your questions in here, Trustee Higginson, that you asked was, what the circumstances were with those buses. So the two pieces are, yes, for the last 2 weeks, they have been hesitant to allow courtesy riders on. And they were all told that from our information. And the second piece is that those 2 buses right now are servicing the extension students, and they're quite full.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
None.
That completes my report.
Thank you. 14.1, Superintendent Blaine, the transportation policy.
So, in your package, as the board is aware, from the last meeting, we were forwarded on to develop a policy, and I just remind the board, what page is that?
33.
So, what we did was work with the information that we drew from the input sessions and survey, and other information that the board had given us. We then went out to other school districts and looked at many transportation policies out there with a criteria of how modernized they were and what type of school district were they as far as busing and those types of things. And tried to find some commonalities. This is, as the board is aware, this is the high-level guidelines that the board or that the staff would work with as we move through it. So those specific pieces that the board may be looking for or the audience and communities are most interested in come out in the procedural part. That's the next stage. So this gives us that high-level part. So what we're suggesting is that this is accepted, and moving out to motion, notice of motion, and the Board of Education believes in providing eligible students in safe, reliable transportation in a physically and environmentally responsible manner. The board further believes that it may be pay all or part of the conveyance of students by school bus and through the transportation assistance. That gives the board and staff some flexibility on what it wishes to look at. But it does reinforce the next 3 points that transportation to and from catchment schools is based on the following guidelines. So we're speaking to catchment students, special needs, safety and hazards, and distance and geography. The board, while recognizing that it's not required to provide bus transportation to bring students to and from school, shall make provisions for the school bus transportation within the above guidelines and administrative procedures as established by the superintendent of schools. So the next piece to this would be, once approved, then we will begin to write the procedural piece, meeting our goal of completing it before Christmas.
Somebody like to move the recommendation?
Should we ask questions on
Well, we can ask.
Okay.
Moved by Stephanie Higginson. Anybody like to second the recommendation? Trustee Robinson, and go ahead, Trustee Kimler, you're first.
Well, I guess I was looking for some clarification on the policy. I'm not sure where policy ends and procedure sort of takes over, but I think many of us around the table can recognize that safety and hazards are certainly not something that was in the existing policy. So, I'm glad that they're added. I'm just wondering procedurally how they'll play out. Like, will it be and I'm hoping it will be some sort of like a point system or excuse me, where various hazards such as a dangerous street crossing or a no light or no crosswalk or an unlit crosswalk or I don't know, some sort of quantitative way of calculating out, like a matrix or some sort of thing.
Superintendent Blaine?
Yes, it certainly will get complicated. I think there's some other pieces that we need to take into consideration. The active transportation program and how that works itself through. The intent of the board and staff to work with the city as to some of those issues around safety and those types of things. And then also we can't some students are quite aware and have lived in certain circumstances for a long time, and they're quite aware of their own hazards and those types of things. So it does become complicated. There's only so much money that goes around, and so the staff will take a look at that and look at the equality piece, the hazard piece, and try to come up with the best solution possible.
Thank you. And as a follow-on to that, and again, I don't know where policy ends and procedure takes over, but one of the reasons we're reviewing the transportation policy, of course, is because there is such a great percentage of our ridership that's out of current policy.
Right.
And in large part, I think, and I haven't been through every single one that's out of policy, but it seems to me that that a lot of it has to do with if schools are closed or catchments change, that affects parents and the students of those catchments, that there has been provisions made by boards in the past to allow busing, or have busing. And there's no language here for like what would happen if a school was closed and students were affected and busing was affected, or if a catchment were to change, if it could be grandfathered in or not grandfathered in, and for how long, and that kind of thing. So is that something we should look for in a policy?
Those are certainly some things that we could look for within the procedure. This is designed to give flexibility to this board and other boards as to their wishes around that. The more criteria you build at the policy level, the less flexibility you're building in, whereas the procedure is the board can have an influence on the procedure quite easily, and staff can have an influence on it as well. So you still want that opportunity to look at each individual circumstance on its own merits,
Right.
And also the budget will drive some of those pieces as well. And so we wanted to ensure that there was enough of a direction within the umbrella of how we work, at the same time as giving the flexibility for the board and staff to work for the best interest of students.
Okay, well, thank you for those answers, because it's now put me in favor of the policy.
Trustee Higginson?
Yeah.
We're not voting?
No, we just need to go to the policy.
Oh, okay.
I just have one question. It says special needs. We have a number of students who use a district program. Our Skills for Life is a district program and not necessarily a catchment school. So I wonder how because this doesn't address the idea of conveying students to a district program, but I think that that's a very important service that we offer to those.
The intent of that number one is our district programs.
Okay.
And not so much of the encatchment programs, because that we will certainly support as best we can the encatchment pieces of special needs students, but our highest designated students, which are in our district programs, would be fall under number one.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I think this, at first glance, well, I don't know, you've had it since Friday, that it's responsive. And as Trustee Kimler talked about, 40% of our riders outside of policy shows that our policy is outdated. And, it's responsive to the concerns, I think, that we heard both during the budget process and the transportation consultation last year about people's concerns about safety to their catchment schools and the highways that kids are crossing or would have to cross, and the situation at Mountain View. So I think this is responsive to the community's needs, so thank you.
And just to speak with this policy, I believe, reflects the board's commitment to transportation, and that was certainly through the discussions that we have. There's never enough to go around to satisfy everybody, but our belief was this board and other boards in the past are committed to supporting students as much as they can around transportation and working in the best interest. So we believe that this reflects that.
Thank you. Trustee Brennan?
Yeah, it's a bit confusing because the heading is transportation, but most of the references to getting kids to and from are busing. And I think that if we're talking about transportation, we should expand it to include the kinds of things that the superintendent mentioned. That it should be in policy, in my view, not part of our procedures. And that is the collaboration, commitment to collaboration with the regional district, the city of Nanaimo, with parents and school packs, and maybe just school populations in general. So I think transportation is the overarching name, I guess, to the policy, but it can be broken down into a lot of variants, such as bus transportation, bicycle transportation, walking, and city buses, regional district buses, and paracollective supporting kids coming to and from. So I don't think all those details are necessary, but I think the feeling that somebody should get, or the thinking that should go through somebody's mind when they read this is, this board is committed to not doing it all themselves, in terms of transportation, but being a part of a network of a whole of transportation includes busing, walking, et cetera, and collaboration by all means.
Thank you, Trustee Brennan, because we struggled on both places where to put that, and so if the board's feeling like that as a whole, then we can certainly make this reflective as we move along, and make it during the notice of motion, if we have that input, we can move forward with it. Maybe that's something that we could talk about in tonight's committee
Yeah.
as a discussion point.
I think that reflects the feeling of the whole board, is what Trustee Brennan just stated.
Yeah.
Trustee Routley?
I like what Trustee Brennan just added. That's just that collaborative piece, and especially working with other modes of transportation beyond just the school bus. I really appreciate this. Actually, like, I think you captured what the entire board has talked about and what the community, we've heard from the community on. Like, transportation is, I was actually a little bit afraid that there was going to be kind of a direction to remove aspects of transportation. And I think, like, this board, one thing that I appreciate about this board is that we've all established that transportation is important, and poverty is really an important issue, right? And transporting those that are single parents or impoverished, like, this policy is in line with that too. We've all talked about that being important, right? Getting those kids without a lot of need, with the need to get to school, getting them to school. So I like the fact that it's general, big and general. You have the safety in there. Even the funding is big and general. Not that we'd ever want to go there, but it's general in that we could also think of future budgetary stuff. So good job.
Thank you. Any other discussions? All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
We're still up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Moving on to policy and procedures, as the board is aware that we circulated for input 30-day notice of motion for a second time the board policy and procedures as developed by Mr. Esslinger and Mr. Mumford upon they created a presentation at the end of last year. As we consulted in the 30-day notice of motion from the board and from the public, we had no input, concerns, nor comments. We had nobody respond. And Trustee Bob and myself talked briefly about the whole process and et cetera, and felt that there had been enough discussion and looked through. The majority of these are procedures, again, and so refresh the board's piece around procedures is that they are a working document, and the whole idea as we moved into the governance model with staff and board we can be flexible with our procedures and make changes as we move along when needed. And so they're not requiring a board motion to shift or change as compared to a policy. So the recommendation here, as the list that we provided you previously, is to accept the new policies and procedures converted to administrative procedures presented by Dave Mumford, June the 22nd. And the June the 22nd document, as you're aware, was the document shared in this.
Would somebody like to move the recommendation? Moved by Trustee Higginson, second by Trustee Kimler. Any discussion? Trustee Higginson?
So I think this is sort of, I think this is the final process in final step in a very long process, and I think it's a really important one for us all as a board to reflect on, the policy side of our work versus the procedure side, and that, we create the policy that shapes the procedures, and so we need to really reflect on that, because sometimes we wade way into the weeds. I think this is a good point to, look through this, look at what is in our policy manual, and remind ourselves as we start the new year where the lines are for us.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
Not complete.
Thank you, Superintendent Blaine. New business 15.1.
15.0.
Oh, sorry,
Zero.
sorry. My
Thanks.
apologies.
Thanks, Chair. I'd just like to move that the district provide local capital funds to construct a full-size gymnasium at Hammond Bay School.
Second by trustee Brozovic.
And I won't make a long speech, I promise. But it was at least number 2 on our capital submission. The cost was $853,000. And having reviewed our audit, we know we have that money. This project has been talked about, and that's all it's been done. It's been talked about. And we heard new information from the superintendent tonight, which is hopeful. But I think the board has to make the commitment to get that gym built. As of yesterday, there were 354 students attending Hammond Bay, Ecole Hammond Bay. It's one of the most successful elementary programs in the district. We were sent a letter from the Canadian Parents for French congratulating us on the fact that 10% of our students are in French programs, over 1,100 students. So we have a very successful French program in this district. And I don't know why we would wait any longer to build that gym. I know that there may be some people who think, oh, well, someday we're going to do something with those French programs. Well, we've been talking about that for a long time. Several attempts have been made to relocate the secondary programs, and they've been unsuccessful. These elementary programs are incredibly well supported by parents. They have to get their kids to school. They have to get the kids home from school. They show great support for fundraising and for extracurricular activities. They're very vibrant schools, and there may be a drop in the secondary population, but that's typical. We're not unusual in that aspect. But I think it would be saying something to those families at Hammond Bay who've had decade after decade of waiting for the board to do something about this tiny little gym they have that embarrasses the students when other school kids come and say, "This is your gym? You can't play volleyball in here." So let's do it, and let's jump on with the superintendent's and his staff's efforts to get that done, and get it done sooner rather than later. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak to it? Trustee Higginson?
So I'm going to vote against this motion, not because I don't agree with every single thing that Trustee Brennan just said. I do agree. The gym is pokey. They've been waiting too long. But I'm encouraged to hear. And when I came in, it was as a new trustee, I was really like gung ho about getting the gym. And it wasn't talking to previous trustees about why it hasn't happened, to understand the complexities of the situation when there's 6 portables and all this kind of stuff. But what I was encouraged to hear tonight was the superintendent said, in conjunction with Mr. Sabo, about the efforts that are currently being made. And my only concern is that by just saying, hey, let's do this one way, we limit the ability for the possibilities. We have put $50,000 towards this from our capital money, and that was from surplus money. So we put that together to do a study, to do the best thing possible. And it's the largest step, I think, that any board's made towards this gym, and that money is being used. And what I would like to see is, collaborative efforts being exhausted. We've talked about partnering with the city on this in the past. So I don't want to cut us off at the knees with a motion this quickly when we have committed capital money. We've taken a step bigger than any other board has in the past by committing the money. So I think I'm talking in circles, but I really would like us to see that. But I think that we need to have a decision about Hammond Bay by the end of this term for sure. Like 100% I support that. But I think this is just a tiny bit premature after hearing what we heard tonight.
Trustee Kimmel?
I agree with Trustee Higginson. I'm in 100% support of what Trustee Brennan has to say. I believe I would call this a green banana motion. It came late to the table. This is not on the agenda. Did not have an opportunity and to really sort of vet the plan against anything else. We are in the midst, and we just heard from an outside consultant who investigated schools in the central area of Nanaimo. I think it would be prudent to come up with a larger plan first and have the gym be part of the larger discussion. We have talked about collaborating with the city on this. Would like to see more effort made there before the school district commits to 100% self-funded project for that, because there may be a community use as well as school use for that. and we may be able to work with the city and have them pony up some of the money for cost. I agree with Trustee Higginson that that we need to do something at Hammond Bay for sure. I just would like us to not be reactionary and have a more proactive and measured approach for a solution for Hammond Bay. So I'm not supportive of this motion at this time.
Trustee Rutland, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah. I was originally in favor of this motion, but I'm kind of sitting in the middle in a way. Like they need a new gym. We need to get on it. We also need we should maybe as a collab. Like I'm thinking this might be more committee work in a way, just because it's like late motion item that I think we should maybe have some more discussion about it, and staff should be working on a final conclusion to the city, to the capital plan's already been put in, right? Is that correct? Yeah, so
Well, we
it's too
approved
late.
it.
It's too late to say, hey, we'll pay for half of the project or a third of the project, because that'll bump it up. Maybe the ministry would cover that sooner. There's a lot of variables here. The more I think about it, the more complex it is. And I'd also like to hear from staff about what's our priority. That's a huge amount of money. I know they need it. We need to kind of look at all of the priorities. So I'm kind of in the middle. I really want to support this motion because I do in principle. So that's kind of where I'm sitting. I don't know if I can vote for it yet.
Thank you. I'm next on the list. I, like everybody at this table, acknowledge that we need to do something here. I just think, the cost that Trustee Brennan quoted, based on our experience in Cedar, where we got a cost and it was significantly more by the time we got there in terms of at Cedar Elementary. I think that we need an updated cost. That's a significant amount of money to commit without knowing the exact cost of what it's going to cost. And I think we need to figure out how we're going to slice the central part of our district. We just got the report back from Mr. McKay on the central part of the district. We're entering discussions with the city on various levels for several different things. And I do agree that we do need to do something here, but we also just voted minutes ago to make Rutherford the #1 priority of this board and our capital plan. So we do have a limited amount of money, and that's not to say I don't support this at some point. I think that, like Trustee Rutley said, this is more committee work, and we need to know more information before I'm comfortable in moving forward with this today. Trustee Robinson?
Yeah, I'd like to see this motion brought forward again next year, and for boards before the previous board, which I first joined, this project has been put off and put off and put off again, and here I am going to vote to put it off one more time. But I totally agree with Trustee Higginson when she said that this board should commit to seeing this done before this term is over. It's time this thing came to an end, but we seem to be developing some kind of better working relationship with the city. It's been not bad for a while, but I can see this. There was a dream of having a gym come community center, and with the city supporting it. I'd love to see us moving in that direction.
Thank you. Trustee Higginson and then Trustee Burns.
Yeah, just quickly, I think that with the money we've put forward, just to what Trustee Riley was talking about, with the money that we have committed already, it does put us in a position to be shovel-ready to apply for funding. They keep having these sort of like last-minute funding announcements, and if we do that and we use that money and we get ourselves in a position where we can have a last minute, then maybe we'll be in a situation like we were with the Harewood demolition, And, you know, and I think that the staff can hear from the discussion at the table that this is a priority for this board, but I'm just hesitant still. So and if they can't, then I think they should hear that this is a priority for this board. So, that's all.
Trustee Browsman?
While I certainly respect and understand the thoughts and opinions of my fellow trustees, I am still going to support this motion. It has gone on for so long. I have every belief and confidence that we are building a better relationship with the city and that things are going to go well there. But I still think that will take a lot of time, and I think it's more time than the people of Hammond Bay need. I think it's too much to expect for them to wait while those wheels go through. I think that's going to take too long, and I think they've waited long enough. I just think it's an issue of fairness at this point, and they need that gym.
Thank you. Trustee Browsman?
Yeah, to close, just for information, I did serve notice of motion on this some months ago, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for
I'm sorry.
clarity, to add to that, Trustee Brennan did serve notice of motion in the June meeting last year.
So, I did apprise you of my intent to initiate this. And, you know, in the fullness of time is infinite. And that seems to be where we have been going with this issue. And people seem supportive, yes, but the way you demonstrate support as a board is you give staff some direction to get on with it. And that's what this motion does. You know, I think it's, asked Mr. Sabo, and I appreciate if you don't have the facts right now, but I thought it was $853,000 the cost of the new gym there.
Through the chair, I believe the last costing for the gym addition only was in the order of 850. However, that number is dated by a number of years at this point.
Thank you. So, you know, how long must they wait? You know, I think it's time now to demonstrate that this board is committed to getting a new gym built at Hammond Bay. There's no time limit on this. It puts it in the hands of staff to develop a plan as they see fit. It may include other classrooms. It will certainly have washrooms. And it will be a full-size gym for those kids to play sports in, get out of the rain, and perhaps to rent to other community groups in the neighborhood. So I am disappointed. I can see that there's not much support for this here. I'm disappointed. I'm sure the people at Hammond Bay will be disappointed, but they're getting used to it. Well, thank you.
Trustee Robbins?
Could we hear the motion again?
Yeah, sorry. That the Board of Education of School District 68 and Emily Smith provide local capital funding for a full-size gymnasium at Hammond Bay School.
All right, so everybody's had a chance to speak to this. All in favor? Opposed? Opposed by Trustee Ray, Trustee Bob, Trustee Robinson, Trustee Routley, Trustee Kimler, and Trustee Haynes. Thank you. 15.1. Last year, we missed our opportunity for the Remembrance Day, so I guess I wanted to have a discussion about who is willing, well, there's three, I believe three, correct? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Chair, with experience,
Sure.
we typically send trustees with wreaths to Ladysmith, to Lanceville, to Nanaimo, and to Gabriel Island. And I went to Gabriola just because we received a letter of invitation from the Gabriola Lions Club, I think it was. And so I went over there for the afternoon, and it doesn't need to be just one trustee, a group of trustees. I mean, I live in Nanaimo, I prefer to go to Nanaimo. People in Ladysmith, who live near Ladysmith. So it's just we divvy it up, put the order in for a wreath, and then we show up and make sure that we advise the organizers so we can get on before the sparks.
Why? I don't want to know.
So, would it be the will of this board for me to assign people to different locations?
Just volunteer.
Or just volunteer? I'll ask for volunteers via email. Is everybody okay
Yep.
with that?
Yes.
Then staff can order the wreaths.
Sure.
And wasn't there a date on this, though, just?
Yes, there is.
I
November
November
30th.
1st.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So-
So-
Since
not-
Seaview is one of my schools,
Not
I'll
November.
gladly do Lanceville.
Okay. So I'll send an email to everybody if everybody's okay with that.
November 1st.
Okay. November 1st.
First,
Yeah. November 30th would be a little.
Yeah, that was Remembrance Day.
Yeah.
Wish I was there.
Yeah. 15.2, Trustee Robinson.
Well, yes, I have a motion that I've written up that the Board of Education of School District 68 direct the chair to to write a letter to Ethan Olnick with a copy to Carmela Luvisoto, congratulating Ethan on being offered scholarships to attend Berklee College, the New York School of Music, and to Montreal's McGill University, the school he chose to attend and where he received the highest scholarship ever offered to an incoming jazz performance student. We have written a letter.
Let's just get a seconder on
I'll second
that. Second by trustee Routley. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have written a letter to Kenton Dick, his partner in crime. They have done amazing things, most recently at the Monterey Jazz Festival, playing with literally the greatest jazz musicians of our time. A huge compliment to the work of Carmela Luvisoto and the work done at Wellington High School. That program is extraordinary, and those two young men have served us so well. I asked Carmela to send me some more information. The scholarship he got was $32,000, which is pretty amazing. And this summer, he was invited by Juno Award-winning artist, local artist Christine Jensen, to teach at the Nanaimo Conservatory's Summer Jazz Intensive program. He was referred to as a rising star, performed alongside Christine and other Juno Award-winning musicians for an all-star concert. And he also was asked to support renowned Canadian bassist Jody Prosnick, who hired Ethan later in the summer as a teaching assistant for the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra Jazz Camp. So amazing accomplishment by Ethan, and those two young men deserve to be recognized by the board, and Carmela Luvisoto for the great work she's done.
Thank you. Trustee Kilmer?
Just as a point of clarification, the motion was for a letter to Ethan alone, or
To Ethan,
did.
yeah, we've already sent one to
Kenton?
Kenton.
Okay. Thank you.
and a copy to Carmela,
Yeah, for sure.
so she can spread the word at the school.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
Sorry, can I just,
Gotta ask.
I just, it's not related directly to the motion, so I didn't discuss it then, but I do think and I think it's fantastic that we are in a recognition mode. I think that this is what we should do, and I love it. I think we should do it more. And I just think that perhaps we could ask our staff, and I don't think it has to be a motion at this point, but maybe we could request that we develop some kind of a recognition program so that we have some consistency behind this. And I know we're not going to get every student, they have to be brought to our attention for us to know, but I think it would be great for us to kind of make this a bit more of a formal process. I love getting letters from the board when I was in high school. I felt so. I was a teen. I was too much.
I got it from the vice principal.
You're not
That was in his office.
Not the ones you put on your wall.
Thank you, and again, great work by these young people. My concern is similar to Trustee Higginson, it's the consistency that we recognize students. So there are so many outstanding students, and where do it fit in between board recognition and staff recognition? At the school level, principals often take care of a lot of these types of things, and so, you know, I feel fairly confident that the recognition is occurring there. The next piece would be, as the board is experiencing now, how do you deal with the outstanding representation of the district across the nation or continent? So I would actually suggest that maybe it's something that the education committee could do in the working group committee and have a discussion of what the criteria may be, and that would then allow us to do some work around that on how to move it forward. Because there's many other things. There's athletics. There's art, the fine arts, the drama. it goes on and on, the outstanding work of students. And when you're on the scholarship committees and you're dividing out the fine tuning of the excellence, it's incredible what they are doing at the same time as these lives of work, other activities, family and everything else. So I think it's a great thing to do, but I too would like to see maybe some consistency, so then we can help the board in recognizing those students. Principals know exactly what they're looking for, and they bring the students forward so that, and whether or not it comes out through the zone representatives, something like that, where it just creates sustainability of the program.
Thank you. Trustee Brown?
I move that we refer the matter of district student recognition to a future education committee.
A second.
Second by Trustee Brozak.
Just taking up on what the superintendent suggested.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. You're on the list, Linda.
Yeah, just following up on what the superintendent had to say, I agree we're on a slippery slope with this stuff. But these two young men,
No question.
just so amazing, achieving such incredible things that, and we've already recognized one. I felt it was really important to recognize the pair.
Well said. Thank you. All right, for information, just the 16 point, oh, I'm sorry,
Oh, it's to do with 16-1.
sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
With 16-1, and it could be that it's small print, so I maybe just missed it. But I didn't see the motion on the mural on for Harewood School. Trustee Solomon had made a motion, he'd asked me to mention this tonight, regarding putting a mural in Harewood to commemorate the school after it was torn down. And I don't see that motion listed here. And I know HNA has not heard anything from the district at this point, and I think they had been hoping to have some contact by now.
I recall that mention, so we'll definitely find it and.
Pursue it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on board motions? The vandalism reports? Vandalism reports? Yeah, Trustee Brown?
That's pretty good.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Dan? No. All in favor of adjournment? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Each and